purple like Prince. Red and blue, purple like Prince. Red and blue, purple like Prince.
Charges of federal orders, incredible markers, indelible sparkers, immeasurable. Sparking the medical, parkers on pedestal. Sharks for that revenue, hawks for what's edible. Heart full of vegetables, art at the festivals. Heart no cholesterol, sharp on those episodes. I'm on 100%. I like when summer begins. I need my hundreds and tens. I need 100%. Go independent like Prince. I'm on 100%. I like when summer begins. I need my hundreds and tens. I need 100%. I like when summer begins. Whoa, I'm on 100%.
It blocks the opportunity and presentation to get community help. But when we actually empower our sisters to support them with love and light, and encourage our sisters who happen to have the situation to raise their children without the assistance of the biological father, but we help inspire these sisters with being a victorious mind state, which you had, that you would, like you did with us, you attracted other alpha male frequencies and powerful men to help support us in the absence of our biological father.
I'd like to also share one of the things I did not do, even if I disagree with their father, I would never backtalk, badger, put him down, curse him. None of that would happen, because I knew that I was actually shaping their lives every time if I would dare to do that, and that would destroy the fiber of who they are as men and as a woman. So when we end up in the relationship because we are hurt and we have misunderstanding, don't destroy the child. By putting the father down or the mother down, because you're only going to just bring the child down, and you make the child susceptible to all type of influences because they don't feel their strong roots. So they will find out on their own the weaknesses and strengths of their parents. And also because when you're young and you get into a relationship, you're going to have some issues, you're going to have some problems. And then as you get more mature, then you realize, I could have done things different. And that becomes your lesson that you learn. And pass that lesson on to your children and start to share with them how you was able to overcome some of the insurmountable odds and such. So that's my sharing.
That's the wellness salute. Yes, beloved.
Do you think, what type of impact does it have on a child if the parents, they no longer want to be together? They fall out of love, but they stay together for the child. So it may be some friction between a man and a woman, but they're together for
co-parent.
Yeah, they're co-parenting. And they live in the same household. They're putting up a front for the child. They act like mommy and daddy is in love. Is that helpful for the child but harmful for your own emotional health? What should you do in that instance where you want to raise a healthy child, but you don't want to be with your mate anymore?
Well, first of all, the child sees it. It reminds me of a famous woman. She was breastfeeding, and she says, I feel so bad about our relationship with the father, and I'm crying all the time, but I never cry from the baby. I said, well, it's in the breast milk. All your pain and all your suffering is in the breast milk. It's inside the breast milk. It's from the DNA going into your blood, into the soul of this being. So you're going to have to actually heal that up and know that you actually created that relationship. See, I say it's all me. We create our reality. Whatever we're going through, it starts from inside. It doesn't start outside. And that's where your power is. I'll have this affirmation. I said the power to heal all your conditions are within you. And you have the mighty power to heal yourself. And I would tell that to my children, that they have the power. At any time they feel things are not working in their lives, they can go in and heal. But in terms of having a man and woman in the same house for the sake of the child, actually you're showing the child how not to be loving. Because you're not going to be loving necessarily. You're going to be passing like two ships in the night. He's going to go in his room. She's going to go in her room. They're not going to be eating together. There's not going to be a lot of smiles and joy in the house. The house is going to be solemn. It's going to be depressed. And the child's going to absorb all of that, and that's what they're going to marry. That is what they're going to model, and they're going to now create the same relationship again. So it's healthier that you don't pretend, that you be real. And that you do have a separation, but you still have a unity and work with the child. And when they go to either home, that there's peace in that home.
Right. To echo what my mom says, I do that with my daughter's mother and my daughter. I form a team. My daughter's name is Atanet Nefere. So it's Team Atanet Nefere. Me and her mother are her coaches. We're coaching our daughter to success. And we have love for each other through the success of our daughter. So it's about, love never dies, but it can transcend. You know what I'm saying? And that goes back into what we talked about before, Brother Rich, about, knowing how to use the energy constructively, so it's not just stuck in an emotional space. Because a lot of times when you're stuck in an emotional space, you take on the spirit of being the victim and not the victor. Okay, so you want to move when the relationship transcends a physicality, then you can move it from an emotional physicality space to a spiritual and mental space of objectivity. Thinking, okay, we've had problems. What could I do to contribute to make this a functional situation beyond my ego that will help my offspring? How can me in this mother, in the sense of if it's a mother and a father, of a mother to the father, how can you come together in a union and have a productive interaction for the sake of the child and also for the sake of yourself being productive? Because you're co-parenting, the honor of actually being, partnering with someone so another life form can raise in his or her powerful self. And, all relationships, necessarily don't have to end destructive. You can actually find ways if you did love each other at one point, then there's some negotiable space there to transcend and be productive. But it takes two adults to be able to go be objective, to see the possibility and how they can work together for the goal of the child and not for an ego. A lot of times relationships who run sour, this kids suffer because the parents are so subjected to the emotional pain of each other and themselves and the ego and the blaming and being victims that they're not able to transcend the ego body and the ego consciousness of each other for the sake of the child. So they'll fight in war for years, and the child is seeing pops or moms, and they're not even seeing the pops and moms in their higher self. The pops is always talking bad, like mom said about the mother's always talking bad to the father, and they think that because they're physically providing, resources, economics, that the child is being whole. Eventually, that dysfunction shows up in how the child now attracts relationships and how they create other life or how they marry or divorce or do things. So we have to break the cycle of dysfunctional relationships we have with each other. And I'll encourage you all in there to move from a victim consciousness to a victor consciousness. Begin to transcend the ego if there's a possibility to be harmonious. Find that spot that transcends whatever he or she did, he said, she said, he did, she did, and go from the victim to the victor space for you, not only the child, Ma, but for yourselves. It's a good practice so you can show up masterful, so you can attract a better mate next time. You have to practice somewhere, right?
Well, I named this the Holy Trinity. So people that click on it, they may want to hear some fancy stuff about Osiris and Isis and these fancy Kemetic names. And then when I say the Holy Trinity is the black woman, the black man, the black woman, the child, they may say, man, that's human shit. That's humanity. I thought you was going to talk about some divine things.
Right.
How divine? Kanye West had a song called God's Dream. This is a God's dream.
Right.
How much God are we? Some people say we're an aspect of God. Some people say we are God.
Right.
In terms of divinity, in terms of ancient Kemet,
Right.
How divine is the black man and black woman, man and child?
Okay.
Our relationship to God,
So-
outside, inside, whatever.
Right. Okay. So let's look at the principles. Kemet. When we talk about the deities or the aspects of the mother, father, creator, or nature, these are aspects of or principalities of divine. Okay. So you talk about Asar. You're dealing with a father principle or archetype dealing with resurrection, okay? Being the one that is the provider, okay? When you talk about Aset or As, it's the mother of the sacred seat sitting on her sacred throne, okay? You talk about Heru is the child birthed from the father of resurrection and the mother of the throne, okay? So he, her, she, him, hero, shiro are the aspect of divine, and Heru represents the lofty one, the victorious one, the one that rises above from the lower self to a higher self. These are attributes and aspects that our ancient ancestors put into place for us to reflect divine in a daily activation principle. It wasn't some lofty cosmic place that's not us. We are the cosmos here. We are the living cosmos. We are the star beings here, and so they put these principles in place to remind us of our connectivity to as so above below, the law of correspondence. Okay, we talk about the principles of Aten Ra, the revealed light, which you see in your presentation, which you're revealing. Which your revealed light comes from your inner light, which is your Amen Ra, your hidden light. So these are all, and we say the word Amin or Amin at the end of a Muslim prayer, or Amen at the end of a Christian prayer. It's always talking about the hidden light. The root of Amen comes from the God aspect or deity principle, the hidden light potential of God, Amen Ra, the light that shines in the inside. So, it's easy to get caught up. You say, Brother Rich, as far as the names and something outside, but the ancestors never focused on outside. It was always started in, and they worked from in out. So Amen Ra merged into Aten Ra, the revealed light. Okay, so you worked on your Amen Ra, your inner light, so you can shine and stand outward as Aten Ra, the revealed light. Okay, so when we start to look at Kemet or Kemetian principles as external extensions of us, then it takes us away from our daily responsibility to apply divinity. Example, Tahuti. So Tahuti is just not some mass deity as an ibis. The reason why you had, let's say, example of the ibis attached to a human body in Tahuti. The ibis would represent divine intelligence, the observation of animals in nature. Okay, the zoomorphic analogy of animals in nature. Okay, the study of how animals show up in nature. That the ancestors said, "Wow, the ibis it can take the water, and when it's concentrated, it gets itself its own colonic. It does its own internal irrigation, and it studied that aspect and other aspects of the ibis, and it attributed intelligence." And so when you saw the ibis on the human body, it wasn't saying that there was a zoomorphic human being walking around one time and not literal. It was saying that the principles of that man can attain his divine intelligence. Okay, when you saw Sekhmet, the Holy Mother Sekhmet, with the head of a lioness on a woman's body, that was demonstrating the aspect that we didn't worship a woman with a lion's head, or we worship animals. It was saying that the attribute that the mother lioness has, okay, in the animal kingdom, that shows up in the woman, in the mother nurturing and being the protector. And when you treat her and disrespect the woman, her attribute of Sekhmet, she will harness the fire. Sekhmet being the daughter of Ra, she will harness her father's fire potential and burn stuff down. And then what happens in the next scene of the Kemetic pantheon is that Sekhmet is transformed from a lioness into the temple cat by Bastet. So the temple, you see cats a lot associated with Kemet. The cat is sacred because it was actually the spirit and the principle of Sekhmet being transformed and being in Ma'at. Okay, because she was wild and burning everything down. And so now she was able to get access inside the temple as a cat because she was calm. Okay, so these are principles. Ma'at, the principle, of you see it's depicted as the winged black goddess. Okay, so it was about principles: truth, reciprocity, and righteousness, and balance. And so you saw the principle of Ma'at would show up. And how do we apply as Kemetians daily? How do you show up Ma'at in your daily life? Right? And how does that show up in how you treat yourself? You treat others around you. Okay, the principle of how to take Tahuti, divine intelligence, and how Tahuti helps to work with Ma'at on the judgment scene. The judgment scene is not literal of the judgment scene of something outside you, but your own daily judgment scene. How are you using your divine intelligence with your principle of your Ma'at, righteousness and balance in your daily judgment of yourself and as your flow in life? So if we understand these are principles of God, aspects of God. If you take all the aspects of God in life, you make yourself whole. If you're disciplined to be the Kemetic or Kemetian initiate and apply daily these principles in your life, then you become the whole God, goddess, or intert. Mom?
And as above, so below. And look, the Nut represents the light.
Nut, celestial
and
mother.
Nut is celestial mother, and she's within. And there's a prayer to connect us to the I am principle. It's Nupu Nuku, Amiku, Kemam Keperu, Imintur Ayu. I am that I am a shining being dwelling in light. For I come from the limbs of Intar. give thanks. And so that oneness of knowing that you're speaking of, like even Mary says, the God in me.
It's the God in me. Right?
Yeah, so it's really, it brings you back.
A storm with that.
Yeah, didn't they?
But it was so sacred. It was so powerful.
Yeah.
It was so revolutionary because everybody knew that was the truth.
Yeah.
The truth.
Yeah, and that's really where the Most High dwells, within. And every possibility and great possibility of family unity and community healing, it's going to happen from inside.
Well, let's get that extension mind. Kemet, all of the temples, Brother Rich, were laid out as the human body. You walk in the main where they did the worshiping at was considered the crown. Or the head. Each room was representing of the body, the sacred body. So the temple of man, and it was saying that inside the temple of man lies God. So they laid out the temples as a representation of man going through going through each room or each covenant door and doing sacred work to eventually go into his consciousness, because the seat of God is in the consciousness, is in your power, and your true and your soul power, your spirit power, your body and your car, your soul and spirit power lies in your seat of your heart. That's why they say keep your heart light as a feather. In the Ma'at principle, we'll talk about keeping one's heart light as a feather, meaning don't let the heaviness and the judgmentation of people outside you dictate your God flow and how you shine and how you do your work. Just do your work.
And then talking about the deities as ourselves, or as a continuation of who we are, because they're indwelling principles.
Yes.
You go to Kemet. I remember going in one of the temples. We all came together, Sonora Samaj, and you were there. Yep. Dr. Jupukin was there. Yes, and then we went into one of the holies of holies, and there's the temple where they call the royal spiritual family. So you Ptah, so you come right in, and there was Ptah. And Ptah, it's interesting because throughout the whole land, you don't see the symbols. You see those in museums now, and stolen legacy in people's basements and so on. So, but it's one particular temple where you walk in, and Ptah was kneeling, but he had no head. There's a reading there. We have to return our minds back to ourselves. Then you would go over to the left, and you would see, not Sekhmet, you go to the left, and you would see Nefertum. That is the child of Ptah and the child of Sekhmet. And you only saw the slab. You did not see a symbol of the Nefertum, the resurrected one. Out of the mud comes forth the lotus. So we have to put those pieces back within ourselves as a people. We're broken. But you did go see Sekhmet. And Sekhmet was whole. And who is Sekhmet? She's the healer. And she's a patron of all healers. And so when you go to various temples, you will see acknowledging Sekhmet. And that's where the medicine was. And we'd have our healing sanitariums there. And throughout the land, there was healing throughout the land. And people would come from around the globe to come to be healed and purified and charged. And I remember even then, both women and men, we would look at Keppra. Remember when Keppra was the size of the beetle? Yeah. Keppra for transformation was facing the water, which was about a block long. And there was salt in the water. That water was there from the beginning of time. And that was where we were purified as a people. And so even though we did not dip into that water, you cannot just go into that water, but we were able to be purified spiritually. And the wholeness, we started to gather our members together, our pieces together. And as we gather those pieces together, we will become whole beings. There's a prayer called Divination of the Body Members to put you together. They say, our eyes of Het Haru, divine love. Our neck is of As or Asar. Our skin is of Tahuti. Not a member of us without divinity. We are Ra every day. Not shall we be seized by our hands, nor carried away by the shining beings, the ancient ones, the ancestors. We come forth advancing. We know our name. We are millions of years as our name, traveling along the way of Haru, the light. So we have to get back on our path of the light. That's when you come put to the light. The light is within. India sings, I am light. We're coming back to the truth. The light shall set you free. The truth will set you free. So we are becoming ignited. And when you become the light, you become enlightened, then you begin to be able to unify with your brother, your sister, with your mate, your children, and from that enlightenment, we begin to heal our families.
And when you hear me say Tuwa and Ter, means give praise to the divine, the divine inside you, the divine inside me. What's powerful about the word power of God in Kemet is that it's the only word out of all the names for divine or God. in nature that has nature, right? But what makes or nectar powerful is that it has both masculine and feminine sounds. Is a masculine sound. T is feminine. Hence, you hear the word Nefertiti. All the women had or ast, imbethet, okay? Sekmet, ma'at. All the women had the T's, okay, at the end to emphasize the like the tit, the nourishing. So the is masculine. Okay, or nectar. But using the intonation of nectar or nature, right? Both tones are masculine and feminine. So when you say you're resonating, vibrating with the Sacred Mother, the Sacred Father. We talk about the Trinity, the Ast, the Holy Mother Ast, or Aset, the Holy Mother Asar, what they miscall Osiris. And you, the one using the tone, affirming the tone, is the Sacred Child, the Heru, the hero, or the Shiro.
But even then, how did we live our lives then? As the model, we were purified. May I be purified, 70 purifications. We had to, I purify myself as the great stream of the galaxy, and that was as wrong as pardon. And the spots upon my body and upon the earth are washed away. I come that I may purify the soul of mine in the most high degree. To the level of your cleansing is the level of your frequencies, to the level that you will attract healthy relationships and be able to build a nation. Once again, as it was, so it was in the beginning, so shall it be. And that we all were living on vegetables. Our intake, our food was fruits and vegetables. It was even melons then. It was herbs. We had a little fish, but primarily we were eating from the garden. We were garden people. We were farmers. And so from nature we lived. Inter, nature. And nature we must return back to. And that is how we're going to become whole as a whole family. That is back to us, Asar, and Harum.
Talk to me about, I've been hearing for years about the new paradigm that's being ushered in, deals with divine feminine energy. There's some confusion. Some people may have a misinterpretation of what that means. Some people associate this divine feminine energy with the rise of homosexuality that we see in our community, with the rise of feminism. From a spiritual perspective, from an ancient perspective, what exactly is this return of the divine feminine energy that people keep hearing about?
Well, let me caveat to moms. We're in the age of Aquarius. See, Pisces was in the age of I believe, is belief. And for the last 2,500 years, that's all you saw fight. And the culmination of our family, our Christian family members and our Muslim family members culminated in the first stages of the Crusades. And so it was all about a religious interpretation of who was going to convert who to what. So out of that chaos for the last 2,500 years was a moving away from recognizing that deity has the mother associated with. Okay, so before Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, it was the universal understanding in all original Aboriginal practices was associated with deity being the mother, the mother being seen as deity. You know, and it wasn't saying that men or the masculine was not God, but it was saying that also, in addition to, you can acknowledge that your mother has God too. So over the last 2,500 years, we moved from the system of acknowledging mother as part of divine or deity, and it got translated and transferred over to it being more masculine dominated. And look what the planet, look at the stuff that happened in the last 2,500 years with that out of ma'at balanced representation. We've had much more death and destruction, more disharmony. Humanity has been off kilter. So everybody's fighting over belief. Now we're moving up out of that paradigm into the frequency of Aquarius, okay, which happens to be my sign. Aquarius is the age of I know. So the knowing, knowledge of self. That's the feminine attribute of the knowing. You know what I'm saying? That is being birthed in this age. It's a principle of you see a man with Aquarius holding a basin of water, and pouring the water. The water represents stream of consciousness or the mother. Return to the stream of consciousness. So when we talk about mother saluting, we're not talking about sexualization. I'm not talking about sexualizing the mother or sexualizing father principles. I think that's later down the chain of human understanding and experiences, and whether it be negative or positive. from a spiritual perspective, adoration and salute of the mother principle is powerful for the men, because what happens now is the universal force of the Sacred Mother is knighting you, right, into your power. See, the principle of a man's purpose is to serve, has in the term servicemen, firemen, policemen. The whole point of service, the principle of service is man is moving outside and doing the service, right? And so the inner chamber, so that's a masculine attribute. Outside, coming out, right? Like our male principle hangs outside. And so that's the outside aspect of man, how God shows up. The internal aspect, like the womb, is inside, right? Is God within. So when you're in your holistic self, you're acknowledging the power of God being in man and woman. Hence, when we talk about this program, is God as the original Trinity. Seeing divinity in the Father, the Holy Mother, the Holy Child. That's all three of those principles are formed in the Holy Ankh. Eternal life, right? That represents that. And so in Aquarius is the age of chaos, right? Into being, into knowing. So it stirs up all of this energy. So you're gonna have, you talked about people identifying beyond heterosexual lines as homosexuals, and you have people, women more standing up, declaring who they are. All that's part of the chaos. It has to happen. People have to now declare themselves out of the age of belief, because belief had people so encapsulated into picking a side, and it calcified in consciousness. And so now not a lot of the religious bondage that people have been into for the last 2,500 years is starting to shift. So even people who are into Islam or into the Hebrew Israelite faith or the Hindu faith, these different faiths, right? They're beginning to germinate into a spiritualism beyond the religious understanding of what that is, because the age is dictating that. And so when we talk about the divine feminine, we're not talking of the mother principle. We're talking about just recognizing the aspect of the creator in the woman. Now, men, it should not be hard for you. Your first 5 years of your life, your first teacher, your first master teacher is the mother. Right? She's the one that teaches you the basic things on how to survive. For the first 5 years of your life, 4 to 5 years, is the mother. So in that regard, God is coming through the spirit of your mother, nourishing you and creating a creative environment for you. Okay? That is not cut you off from being an alpha or cut you off from being a man. It just you receiving and acknowledging divinity in the mother principle. All right. And so this age is forcing us through the chaos to acknowledge the mother. And it would behoove men to stand on his power alpha man square, right? And tap into the creative side of himself, support like the Ankh, be a rooted foundation, a pillar to support the woman being her power self, be of service to her. And as you serve the woman in your role as a man, as you serve the feminine goddess into her God mind, right? Then her God mind will also ignite and knight you, right, with the sword of righteousness into your God mind. And the Trinity will become a real thing, not some lofty cosmic event, but it becomes an example of who we are, the Holy Trinity. When we say Holy Trinity, it simply is recognizing God as Father, a Holy Mother, and Holy Child.
Well said.
You mentioned the first teacher being a woman. Do you think we have it backwards? And to get back to the that Holy Trinity, do you think we have it backwards when a lot of the teachers that we see, whether it be the conscious community or whether it be the Black Power community, a lot of them are men? Should we have more women teaching up front, or is women supposed to teach behind the scenes and the man's supposed to be out there, as far as, teaching?
That's why it has to be a balance, because it has been male dominated. In all the spiritual houses, the books are written by men. Women are picking up Sacred Women, for example. They're saying that is their Bible. That is their spiritual guide to help them through this realm. And so that's called the balance.
Right.
Not for us to be angry at our men, not for the men to be angry at the women and feel like we're divided. When a woman comes into balance, the man is coming into balance. That's really what it reflects. It's not one-sided. So you're actually having your full cylinders, your full power, your full wholeness in the family when the woman is representing herself complete and the man is representing himself complete. That is the balance. That is, now you have the marriage of the patriarch and the matriarch coming into one. That's how it was in the beginning. There was never, well, I do remember going through Kemet, and the guides, they have these guys who study Kemetic teachings, and even if you came with your own guide, they would still walk you through the land. And they would say the king would come forth to the holies of holies. They would say the priest comes forth to the holies of holies. I said, well, that's not the truth. Actually, the king and the queen. It was not just the president of the world, of the country, and the first lady. It would be two presidents working together, left and right brain. And so in our ancient construct, it would be the king and the queen. It would be the priest and the priestess. And in that harmony, that is what creates the harmony in nature. You cannot have nature without having the masculine and feminine principle.
Right.
You can't have the sun and the moon. The moon is a feminine principle, and the sun is a masculine principle. It's in nature. And they work together. And they're in harmony together. And so we have to come into a harmony as nature, and then we are not in opposition with women coming into their power. But what happens, women have to get to their power zone. And women are quite powerful, but they don't feel as confident and they're not as nurtured. And so they hide. So the women, it's time for us to, we have a song in Sacred Women's work. We say, Sacred Woman, enter Kemet. It's time to rise. And when the woman rises, and the family is not any higher, and the man's not any higher than his own woman. I remember Minister Farrakhan has said that the black man is not going to be any higher than his woman. So when she is fully lifted up, he is fully lifted up.
Politics aside, do you think Obama, Michelle, and their children, is that a perfect example of the Holy Trinity?
I would say, politics aside, it was the most powerful symbology that the planet has ever witnessed in our time.
Right.
It transcends what we read about, about our ancestors and what we say a time was. But at that high level, for 8 years consistent, see, you pay attention to your kids. If you can transcend politics, pay attention to the little kids. The ones 4, 5, 6, 7, like my daughter, 11 years old. The ones from like 12 and beyond, like lower. And what did that do for them? How did they see themselves? They were raised in that 8 years looking at that as an example. So I remember I did a post upon Obama doing his last speech, and I put a picture of Michelle and him. And I said, thank you both for your symbolic service. See, I think the purpose of a president is to remind the people to be presidential, Brother Rich. See, we get caught up in the symbol of the seat of power, and we don't apply our own power.
We have a seat of power. The seat of power in a woman is Ast.
The Holy Mother. Right. Back to the Trinity.
The seat of power for a man is a Sar.
Back to the Trinity.
Both have a throne. But where's the throne in the body? The throne is in the Ucha, the all-seeing eye. It's in the consciousness. And because the throne is in the consciousness, the power, then we create a throne physically. But it's still, the throne comes from inside. Mm-hmm.
So this is what I say, Brother Rich, about being presidential. So when I saw Obama over the last 8 years, it just empowered me to be presidential to my people in my work. I wasn't caught up in his political manifestation, what he said he's going to do or not do. I looked at him as a symbol. I took that energetic symbol and applied it in real time in my life and continue to do service to my people through the works that I do in support of my mother and the family. And even here, Brother Rich, we're being presidential. What you're doing at the platform with the Underground Railroad visuals is helping to be presidential to your people. And that's what I really want to inspire people to be. Be presidential in your life. How can we actually germinate power to the people for real? By putting our power in ourselves, applying the Amun-Ra, the hidden power light, and then being the example outside as the power Aten-Ra.
The Underground Railroad, all I can think about is Harriet Tubman, because Harriet Tubman, she was the personification of power. For her to have the consciousness to look up at the star, looking up at Newt, and then using Mother Newt and using her instincts, her intuition as a navigation.
The black woman was the original GPS. The black woman was the original navigator. Even your show, Brother Rich, is called The Underground Railroad. So the title is masculine, but the conductor is the black woman. Whoa. The conductor of the Underground Railroad is the black woman. So, brother, you are showing Ma'at on your show. Absolutely. You are showing how the masculine and feminine can come together and do such an audacious black excellence salute.
Tell it. And as she was traveling, she had courage. You have to have courage.
You have to have courage and power.
That was Sekhmet's power. And so as she would know whose shoulder to touch, because they want to take when you're in a plantation, you're ready to call out. She's over here to get you a few extra biscuits, right? So she had to be in tune to know it's time to go. Right. And when she would do it, she would say, there's no turning back. On this train, there will be no turning back. I'm going to have to take you out. That's how much power she had. And she would have to tell it to women and men. Right. And she would be like, and her father trained her how to move through quietly. He trained her how to pick the foods. And he trained her how to pick the berries and how to survive with no food, but the food was in the land. And she was able to navigate a people, 300 people. And she's so deep because she kept coming back. She kept coming back and get another 7, another 10. She kept coming back. And then whose door did she knock on? What kind of power? She knew how to knock on this door to get safety on her way back to take them to the land. So that's some supernatural power.
But Ma, we have that supernatural power. I mean, but look what you named me. She named me SupaNova before I could even apply SupaNova. I was 5 years old, and she said, son, this is your God name that you're gonna grow into. Your name is SupaNova. And you're going to earn this name in life. So that's who we are, brothers and sisters. I say stop being scared. I say it's time to turn up, tune in, and get louder. I say when the haters come, we just be greater. When they keep even trying to talk about us, we just be greater. Don't even say their name. When you speak someone's name, you speak power. Speak your name. Speak brothers and sisters that are doing the righteous work. And watch the power awaken, illuminate, fortify, electrify, and everything you do. Salute.
But you know what I'm seeing? I'm seeing green power.
Green power, the chlorophyll, which is Asar, resurrection.
And which is prosperity.
Prosperity, green prosperity. Green, so I say eat green, live green, walk on green, be green. Hey, that's why we trying to tell you to had your greens today. Because see, when you get the green, you eat the green, you will attract the green. Manifestation.
Oh, good thing.
Indeed. In terms of, if we're going to apply these Kemetic principles, as above, so below, as within, so without, what would it mean? What does it mean when you find a soulmate? Are you just finding the perfect aspect of yourself? What does that mean for somebody to say, I found my soulmate, now I could create this Holy Trinity?
You found an accountability partner, someone to remind you on your purpose, his or her purpose. You all are making a commitment to walk together, okay, to work together towards the goal. And the goal is limitless, of what you can establish when you become accountability partners and you court each other into courtship of greatness. Ma?
And really, to magnify the soulmate, you have to actually examine one another through self-examination. Because when you see someone, it's all through just one eye, one lens. But you have to have time to actually see and really make a connection. So, because there will be a point where they say where the honeymoon is over, and then you see the real person. The person that's showing in front of you is a performance. And then after the season goes, then you actually get a chance to take a few layers off. And then, say, oh my gosh, you're really not my soulmate. I thought you was because you look so beautiful. The way you walk, the way you move, what you have, your property, then you must be the one. But the soulmate, you have to go through initiation to actually connect to a soulmate. You have to go through your own personal initiation. So we do have Man Heal Thyself coming up. Yes, we have, and that's going to be April the 5th, April the 5th, Man Heal Thyself, the Wellness Warriors coming up, and they will partner and walk with, that's right, that's Man Heal Thyself, Wellness Warriors coming up, and then the Sacred Women will be coming up. So we're asking that couples, men and women, come together and take the walk. And Man Heal Thyself, there will be 12 men. Men who are seasoned men, who will come and they will move you from gateway, or not in this case, these are wheels of power, Arit through Arit. You're also going to be, those same men who are going to be the teachers, they are going to be I call them the healing juggernauts.
What is Arit? You said the word Arit. What does that mean?
That is your 7 chakras, or your 7 energy wheels, and those are energy forces.
So you're saying the Arit is what we call chakras in Kemet. We didn't call it chakra. We call it Arits, energy centers, second centers. Second is power, energy.
Right, because just like we think that the things that are happening in the New Age now, that's old school, that's ancient, that's in the beginning. And so we created that. We created the system. We became conscious of what was already in us. And so those wheels of light of power, as you go from man to man within yourself, you become enlightened. So these have become whole men, whole women, a whole community, and that becomes your soulmate.
Which is the Holy Trinity.
One term.
In terms of, the Holy Trinity, we've talked on the black man, we talked on the black woman. In terms of the child, what do you think are some of the ways we could keep a child on their path, in terms of their spiritual path? Do you think sending them to school, teaching them, because like some parents, they're a doctor or they have a business, so they want their child to take over the business, or they want their child to get into a field that they think is going to benefit that child the most. How much freedom should we let the children have in order for them to find their own spiritual path?
Talk about
Well,
you didn't
one of the things,
your own history.
Well, one of the things within culture that families actually are on the same page. You would have a family of musicians in Africa. You have a family of wood carvers. You have a family of herders, or a family of who's in agriculture. That family is a oneness. That's the family oneness. And so in my family, my most immediate, my children have taken on the path of healers because I'm a healer. So SupaNova Slom continued the legacy that I laid as a foundation. I didn't make him do it. Well, I was kind of rough when they were young. I made them heal.
Very gangster with us.
I was gangster with it.
Wellness and everything.
Yeah, I remember when they were...
It was not easy being a vegan in her household. Trust and believe. I was born and raised a vegan. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. It was hard and gangster being raised by her.
Well, because I said you better keep your frequency up. You go outside, your frequency's low, somebody's going to take your life. I said, you in the hood, you want to make it through? You better make it through in the heights. So I remember one time I was at the kitchen table and I left out there 3 green drinks. Now they're like, he's maybe about 8 years old and his sister 5 years old. Anyway, they were very young. And so I said, okay, you have your tonics there, they have your nutrients, they have their fruit bowl, and they have the whole grain cereal. So I said, okay, I left the room and I had put them in a car for them to go to school. And I saw 1 green drink left. I said, oh, really? Are they going to try to go out here in the world and not be fortified, spiritually charged and ready? And they may not get back home. I put my sneakers on. I was down at the corner in one flash. Bam! I said, stop the car. I said, open the window. I said, which one of you did not? And I had the green drink in my hand. I poured it in, put the sneakers on. Boom, you got to be in top shape to raise your children. If you're not in top shape, you will not you'll be depressed, you'll be heavy, you'll become a victim, you'll be mad at them. I wasn't mad at my children. I said, no, you're all fortified. I would put words on them. I remember one time Nova was trying to act low. I said, you know who you are? You are a young prince. So you rise up as a prince. I would give words on him and make his soul connect to those words. It's a spell. I put a spell on you. As Nina Simone would say, I put a spell on you in the Vietnam Heights. And so then one of the children said, I had my green drink. I had my green drink. I said, take this green drink and be fortified and have a magnificent day. So I always use words as power for them. And I always also tell them, because I'm a healer, I said, whatever your problems are, come to your mother, because your mother knows. So to be a mother, you have to have knowledge. You have to be able to have power. You have to walk in the world with authority. If you don't have any power, but you also have to have love, and you have to have kindness, because your children will run from you if you're not loving and kind at the same time. So it's a mixture of your masculine and feminine principle all at the same time. You have to be a leader, and then you have to be a nurturer. All of that had to come as one.
Yeah, in the 80s, my birth father was dealing with crack cocaine, of substance abuse issues, like most of our fathers around that time. And so she had to be very gangster and disciplined and very militant with us, and she was extremely militant. So it wasn't just a walk in the park because we were, she was heavy into Pan-Africanism, very heavy into holistic health and wellness, and into metaphysics and fitness. And so that was the counteracting of my week would look like. Monday to Friday, you in cultural school like Uhuru Sasa, RBG, Pan-Africanism, Black and I'm Proud, you know what I'm saying? That type of school, literally. And then we go to martial arts class, meditation class. I taught my first class when I was 10. I had 60 students, teaching them martial arts, teaching Tai Chi, and teaching them meditation at 10. So she raised me to be a teacher. You know what I'm saying? I started speaking when I was 8, public speaking when I was 8 years old. So this is the environment that she wanted to create me in to counteract what I was when I visited my father at the end of the week. He's in the projects. He's dealing with crack cocaine abuse issues. And, that's where the gangsters is at. That's where the hustlers is at. That's a whole other environment. So every time she took us back from my father, visiting my father, she had to retune us up and recharge our batteries, or recharge our crystalline power. And so that's what it takes, a type of dedication to put unyielding in your children. I mean, I do it with my daughter, It's just how I'm blessed because her mother definitely has knowledge herself too. So together, we make a conscious empowerment to create our daughter in this empowerment environment in an extended family, kind of like my mother did for me, making the community be accountable for our children, you know what I'm saying, to help to join them into the wellness conversation.
But looking at it through a spiritual lens, SupaNova and Queen Afua, do you think that from the spirit realm, you got Queen Afua down here doing her thing with the health, wellness, and all of that? As you're not an incarnated being yet, do you think as a spirit we look down here and we say, I want to experience health and wellness, so I'm going to tune into her frequency and come through her if I get her permission? Right. Do you think that happens on a spiritual?
I mean, I actually feel that that's what I did, that I chose my parents. I feel that I chose my ma'at, my polarities. My father going through the chaos, and my mother, working on the love. My mother working on healing, being the healer. My father, addicted to his journey. So that's the balance of SupaNova. You know what I'm saying? That's the balance of me being in the streets and having my street affiliation, but using that affiliation to bring my mother's principles in that arena. You know what I mean? And so that's how my parents showed up for me in real time. You know what I'm saying? In my life and application. So I think I definitely chose my parents, and I feel that we choose. We're that powerful in the spiritual world that we choose the bodies that we want to come through to learn and grow. I feel that way.
And I co-sign. It's actually, many people be angry with their families. I hear that. Yeah. And I said, well, actually, you were your family before you were born into flesh. And that consciousness that you were, between the male and the female principle, masculine and feminine principle, you came through that particular family because that was you, and that is you. And what you end up doing in that family, if you grow, then you will look upon your family and say, I have to help them and lift them up and heal. And so that you will then begin to shift your DNA. You begin to clean out your bloodstream, because what binds a family together is the blood. So if you clean out the blood, then you elevate yourself as the first one. And I always say there's always one in every family. I call it one healer. There's always one who's the different one, the unique one. And that one they go through changes, because people say, what's wrong with you? Why are you so strange? You're so different. And they beat you up when you're growing up in that differentness. But then you realize that you are the light of the family. You are the one. You are the one that ultimately is going to have to lift up and heal that family. I know I was the chosen one in my family. And whoever's listening, they're the chosen one, and they know it. They can recognize. But in order to really be able to be fortified, and you have to study yourself. You have to overcome your demons. You got to detox yourself. You got to clean out that blood, and then you will be a helper to your family. You'll be able to fully lift up your family, as opposed to being angry at your family and feeling isolated from your family. You become the light of the family.
And to echo what Mothership is talking about, is that I feel honestly that each generation of us coming to our families, the ancestors helped deploy us here to be a revenge to the wrongs that were done to our families. So each of us have the potential to actually change the trajectory, or go from the poison to the purification. Each of us in us have the opportunity to let the pendulum swing an opposite way. So even if your family was in a sense of, in Kemet, the lotus flower which is one of our highest revealed flowers that we associate with spiritual oneness and enlightenment. It grows in the mud, in the most, muddy situations. It's the most beautiful, aesthetic looking flower. But what's powerful about the lotus plant, that's definitely associated with Kemet. There are two plants in Kemet that's associated with Kemet, with the lotus and the papyrus, okay, representing upper and lower Kemet. But the lotus flower specifically is powerful. In Nefertum, we talk about the Holy Trinity, has a lotus on his crown, as a child of Sekhmet and Ptah, foundation and fire, birthed the lotus man, Nefertum. Powerful about the lotus is that the lotus, it opens up when the sun comes up, opens up full. And then it closes at nighttime. Also, if you throw any oil or any substance on the lotus flower, it will absorb it and take it into a ball and roll it off itself. All while growing in the mud. That's African people. That's black people in America. That's all of us, original people. We are lotuses in the ghetto. We're the most powerful, beautiful, magnificent, dynamic beings, regardless of whatever's going. We are the resilient ones. We don't even need to call each other niggas no more. We just call it, what's up, really? We mean really resilient. What's up, RZA? Resilient, because we're resilient, all of us. Since we want to always talk about, I don't want to call myself a black, I'm a Moor, or I'm not African, I'm a Hebrew. Let's just call each other resilient. You know what I'm saying? Because that's who we are. You know what I'm saying? Whether you identify as being a Hebrew brother, a Moorish brother, black or African, we are resilient. We are the lotus men and women. They're able to grow from the mud and still be beautiful regardless of whatever happens, Brother Rich. And that's the power that we have.
What advice, since in the beginning I talked about the dynamic of a lot of brothers that I knew were young, just grew up with their mother, no father at home, and when you watch TV and you see all these people accept awards, they give it thanks to their moms and not their fathers or whatever. From your perspective, what advice would you give to the young brothers that's out there being raised just by their mother? And from a mother perspective, what advice would you give to the mothers out there trying to raise a black man out here in this world?
I would say honor your mother to the fullest. Don't make her pay through your frustration, brother, for your lack of. A lot of times we deal with each other based on our lack. So our attitudes are shaped based on our lack of not having. So because we don't have a father, we don't have certain things, we may lash out on those that are trying to help us. Honor your mother, honor those that are working. You see, again, mother is not only your physical mother, your birth mother, but the mother principle will show up in your life. So brothers and sisters who've been adopted, they may have adopted mothers, or they may have the mother environment may mother them. You know what I'm saying? The environment may nurture them and show them a way. So the mother spiritually, the mother's always showing up, whether in the physical or in the spiritual, okay? And so honor thy mother, so thy mother can bless and honor you. And go from your higher self. It's going to be frustrating, being a man here, in this black man of color, in this situation is very intense, but I think that's the beauty. The intensity is the beauty. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. Honor the mother to allow you to honor the women in your life, or honor, if you have a daughter one day, I have a daughter, so I honor my daughter, but it's because I honor my mother. So the chain of command is fortified, and that's my salute to the family, Mom.
Yes, I was just, as you were talking, I was thinking about the 7 young men that was put under my tutelage that were all your friends. Remember
Nubian
1 year,
thugs.
The Nubian thugs.
That's
I gangstered them that night. I came and I put on my purple, my Nebuchadnezzar head garment, and I said, okay, brothers, going through women and different things happening, you're out of balance. It's time to go within and heal yourself. So for 4 seasons, they put their whites on every Tuesday. They came by the house, and they shared their hurt about their mothers, their fathers. They got a chance to speak it out loud because they were speaking it into their mates, into their relationships, their pain, those unresolved issues. And so after that year, I said, okay, brothers, you're going to have to build. What did they build? They built something together, which is called Holla Black.
Yeah, we also built our newspaper. It was called ROBC, Reconstruction of Black Civilization. We built our newspaper. Yeah, this is in the 90s. And just for clarity, we were called Nubian Thugs. Thug was an acronym called the Heru Unity Group. So there it goes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and so they started to help other young people through poetry, but they were having different ciphers, and they would come together. It's like every week they would come on Saturdays and make the giant.
The cipher, yeah.
Right, but then on a personal level, brother to brother, you would have a giant salad and everybody would go shopping and chopping and salad and they would commune together. So I would say to the mothers, open up your home. To the brothers, to your sons' friends, because you don't know what they're going to do when they go out in the street. Open up your homes, you'll know what they're doing. You can help to educate them. You can tell them about other lectures. You can educate them on certain books. You can show them what a whole woman looks like. So when they make choices, they make healthier choices. You can feed them a big pot of soup. The old school. You can give them some detox cleansing tea to clean them out.
I mean, see, we used to have, in New York, as far as the gang community calls the Bloods, we call it universal powwows, and I had hundreds of Bloods come through our family center, Smile Tawi, 300 homies come out, 300 Bloods come out. We had it every week, in our center, Smile Tawi in Brooklyn, Crown Heights. And Mom would bring us the bitters in a big vat, and after every universal powwow with the Bloods, the Bloods loved it. The homie, when the Crips would come too, they would also, because we had universal with the Bloods, and then we had unified Hood Hill with the Crips and Bloods. And every time Mom would bring the greens, and she would bring the bitter teas, and all the homies loved it. The Crips and Bloods loved it. And they looked at Mom as an extended mother, and she would bring the holistic health to the homies. She said, if y'all gonna be Bloods up in here, blood gotta purify. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all don't shoot each other.
Right. And then she'll be, when the Crips and Bloods will come through for the unity talks we had, she'll come in with the sage and sage everybody down. You can imagine hundreds of Crips and Bloods in the temple sitting sage down with their shoes off. Like, we were really about that life, man. Like, we were about that. So that's what the mother provides about when she says, open your space up to your sons' friends and their affiliations and do the work.
To close out with, let the people know what y'all got going on, because y'all got so much things going on. The Super Mega Greens, you got the February 5th, the Sacred Woman Rites of Passage that's going on. Let the family know, man. They got to know.
Okay, well, Sacred Woman, it's time to rise. February 5th? Yeah. 2017, right now, National Black Theater from 2 until 6. We're going to do From Death to Resurrection. We're going to do a healing drama. It's going to just take you to higher ground. And then we're going to have our Ascension ceremony. And then from there, they're going to open up their Meshconnect Marketplace. It's going to be extraordinary. Then we have graduates, Sacred Women practitioner graduates, who will be taking on my work and begin to work in communities. They'll be giving free spiritual readings out that night. We're also going to have Nutrition Kitchen in the house, and we're going to have Whole Foods by SupaNova's brother, Ali Amici, Ali the Great, and we're going to have vegan foods, we're going to have live foods, we're going to have tonics. So come out. About 400 of us will be out there today, family and friends. We're going to National Black Theater, going to heal.
You can go to www.sacredwoman.us. That's www.sacredwoman.us to find out more information about the upcoming festivities at the National Black Theater. Again, those of you, y'all know I'm a wellness warrior, and I want you all to be fortified daily. So make sure you have your greens, your plant proteins. Go to www.supermegagreens.com. That's www.supermegagreens.com. SUPAMGA greens.com. And fortify your life, fortify your cells, resurrect that holy Black Trinity, and fortify your nutrition, family.
Liberation through purification.
For the record, I had my greens today.
Brother Rich had his greens today.
Brother Rich.
For the record, Brother Rich had his Super Mega Greens today. Wellness salute, Brother Rich.
This is a prayer out of Man Heal Thyself that came out of the Pertin Rule, the first written text on spirituality. I gathered and grafted it together for it to be one prayer for Man Heal Thyself to resurrect.
Okay. May I open my 2 eyes, which are blind. May I stretch out my feet, which are fastened together. May my legs be strong and raise me up. I know my heart. I have gained power over my hands and arms. I have gained power over my 2 feet. I have gained the power to do what pleaseth my soul. May my soul and body be not imprisoned. May I rise and shine. I am powerful. I am mighty. I come forth in peace. Hetep. So salute to all of our family, whether you're a Moorish family, we say salute. We say salute to our Hebrew Israelite family. We say salute to our RBG family. We say salute to our Nuwabian family, our Kemetic family, wherever we may be. You know, we salute all of our family. Salam alaikum to our Muslim family. Praise the Lord to our Christian family, wherever you may be. We salute you into mighty power. Do the work. I am that I am, a shining being, a dweller in light, coming from the limbs of the Most High Divine daily. Salute in the spirit of Harriet Tubman. We say, Nukpu, Harry. We say, Anejarak, Harriet Tubman, Nukpu, Harriet Tubman, which means I praise Harriet Tubman, therefore I am Harriet Tubman. So you give
Underground Railroad.
So yes, we give praise to Spirit Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad. Give thanks, family. Wellness salute.
Give thanks.
Peace, family.
Peace, family.
All right. Peace, family. This brother Rich from UGR, urging all my viewers and subscribers to help support the channel by donating just $1 to the UGR PayPal account. We appreciate the viewership and support, and we understand the power of $1. If you benefit in any way, shape, or form, we ask that you donate $1, whether it be monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, or yearly, so that we can build our brand to compete with the NBCs, the MTVs, and the Foxes of the world. I figure since Kanye could ask Mark Zuckerberg for $1 billion, I can ask my subscribers to donate $1 so I could make the best possible content possible. The main objective of this channel is to inspire you to become the greatest version of yourself. So hopefully throughout the years of you watching this program, you have been inspired to become the greatest version of yourself. If you would like to donate, you could go to www.paypal.com and send a donation to richandmerit7@yahoo.com. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your program.
Purple like Prince, red and blue, purple like Prince, red and blue, purple like Prince.
Charges of federal orders, incredible markers, indelible sparkers, immeasurable. Sparking the medical carcass on pedestal, sharks for that revenue, hawks for what's edible. Heart full of vegetables, art at the festivals, heart no cholesterol, sharp on those episodes. I'm on 100%. I like when summer begins. I need my hundreds and tens. I need 100%. Go independent like Prince. I'm on 100%. I like when summer begins. I need my hundreds and tens. I need 100%. I like when summer begins. Whoa, I'm on 100%. 100. Red and blue, purple like